Weekend Warrior Creative Lab. I'm Kevin, this is Matt.
Yep.
And a couple weeks ago, we did an unboxing video
More than a couple weeks ago now.
Yeah, I guess so. For this guy, my new Charvel. I was so stoked about it, but I was wholly dissatisfied with that video because I couldn't play. Because I had cut my fingers, and it was terrible. I feel like I couldn't even tell if I liked the guitar or not. So, whatever.
You still played all right. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I did a lot of this action.
And then someone was being hypercritical of the focusing too, right? On that.
Yeah,
video.
Gavin. So I wanted to just kind of follow back around and talk about the specifics, because I've had some time to really get into it now and to feel it out. And I recorded a couple little clips that I thought Matt and I would look at and just talk about what's up.
Reaction videos are all the rage. So.
Yeah, maybe. So I was thinking about this guitar and what it does. And I think it's kind of obvious what it does.
Right.
My thought was, what can it do? And I think it's a rock machine, and
but it's not limited to that.
Right. And so that's what I was thinking. Like, how well would it do with other genres? Because it definitely does the rock stuff very well.
But I mean, when we looked at kind of the versatility of the pickups, with the splitting and the way the specific way that it's wired, that it's not just split this one, split that one, and with the three-way switch, and then the no-load volume. There's a bunch of neat stuff. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be pretty.
Well, let's check it out. All right, so the first one, metal. Can it do metal? Can the Charvel So-Cal?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna guess yes. So yeah, I think that's kind of the sweet spot in my mind.
Right.
One of the things I noticed that I really liked was the evenness across the neck. A lot of times for me, when I'm up past the 12th fret or around the 12th fret on the low E string, it gets kind of flubby. And
now you got Brent to set this up, right?
Yes.
Prior to doing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's probably part of it. And now, are you accustomed? This is a compound radius neck, right? 12 to 16. Okay. So it starts out flat and then it goes really flat.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that is new to me. The old neck on my Squire Strat, the original neck, was very not.
What
compound.
year was that? Let's look that up real quick. They didn't change to 9.5 till the early 80s, so it still could be the 7 1/4, 7.25, which is what like the 50s Strat. So from the 50s through the early 80s, they were 7 1/4. Then they went to 9.5, and then like if you get certain of the specialty models, like I think the Eric Johnson one, even his Virginia, which is modeled after a 54, I think that's like a 12-inch, just because it's his spec of the neck and stuff. Right. But generally, Strats, probably yours included, the original neck on yours was probably a 7 1/4.
Yeah. So, and I guess that was just really the only guitar I had for the longest time, and I was just used to it. And this is just a different beast, and it took me a while to get it going. Like you said, Brant set it up for me. Thank you again, Brant. And he actually
Did he set it up too low?
Yes. Yeah. I was gonna say it was a little low, so I had to jack it up a little bit. But I got it kind of in a good spot now, and like I said, across the whole neck, it really feels solid, and it felt like I was connecting well. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but it just seemed like the notes were really like locking in for me. So it does metal great. That was the humbucker in the back, the bridge humbucker, and I'm using Scuffham Amps S-Gear, which I'll put a little thing. We probably ought to do something on that at some point, because it's great software.
And I think that kind of will further our conversation on, digital versus analog, or obviously in the way that we've got stuff set up in here, I'm kind of a proponent of a hybrid approach, to use both, and because there's merits to both, and really, I mean, the stuff that you're doing, I think that's one of the best sounding like software amps I've ever heard.
Well, so. I love it, and I guess I'm always going to kind of be a proponent for that stuff, just because of the convenience of it.
Right.
For me,
and even in the room, like when we're doing that stuff with Brant, like the metal stuff with drums and bass at full volume, you know, when we were playing, I got to where I forgot that it was just coming through two powered speakers. You know, it was just a laptop, a MacBook playing into two QSC power speakers. And, you know, while I'm playing, it's just not even in my mind. It just sounded like an amp in the room.
And I think that that's what drew me. We talked about that in some of the earlier ones about just the stereo stuff. What drew me to this kind of stuff is I'm always thinking of the finished product.
Right.
Like, that's just how I think. And I think that spoils the amp guys, you guys, just they love sitting in front of the amp, and I do too. Yeah. But like I'm always thinking of, okay, I want to hear it back in with everything.
Yeah.
And that's going to come through full range speakers, and so like, you know.
And that's my point, I think, because I remember way back when I had a Fender Twin, probably that Yamaha that I still have, and a Strat, and I said I got to try this modeling stuff, so I got a Roland Boss, whatever, the big, it was a big gold, I can't remember the name of it, GT10 maybe, or something like that. I pissed around with it and got like all the sounds right in here in the room, and I thought it was great, and I thought I had the volume kind of normalized between patches and stuff. And then I remember going to some like jam, I forget who was, Jason Ridenauer was in somebody, it was some band, and I was sitting in with him that night, and I brought that rig, and I go rolling in there with this big amp and this big, you know, fancy modeling pedal board. It was terrible, dude. It was like, it sounded bad in the room, just the patches. I'd go from, you know, too soft to shockingly loud, and it was just like, I remember packing the stuff up. I was like, later, you know, I just left after like one set. I was like embarrassed, and
oh man.
So I was like swore off of modeling gear and all that. But that was 2000.
It's come a long way. It was pretty terrible to begin with. God bless the people who kept on pushing for that, because it really is very convenient. Absolutely. For me, the way I do this is I've got the plug-in that I play directly into like a standalone version, because there's very little latency when you do that. So I play that and record the signal into my DAW, and then apply that same thing.
Sure.
So when it plays back, it's
what would also help with latency is, not to rag on you, but just a newer computer, you wouldn't have to worry about for real. I mean, if you got like an M1 Mac or the new upcoming M2s, that's the thing. A lot of it's a function of processing power and stuff. And now we have so much processing power that we didn't have inexpensively, at least 20 years ago. So.
And again, shout out to our guitar nerd text thread, because there's so many amp guys there, and I know I can see Jim shaking his head right now, like, this is why this, you know, like, I want to plug in, I want that immediacy, and I get it, dude, I totally get it. But again, for me, like, I'm trying to pull something like this off quickly, because again, Weekend Warrior, right? I'm doing this on weekend time, and so it works really great for that for me. So metal, check. Let's look at some jazzy kind of stuff. Now, I'm not a jazz guy, you know this, but I managed to find a couple little tones in here that I thought actually turned out really cool. So check this out. It's got a little bark to it, you know, like, and that was, I had rolled off the volume a little bit. That's the neck pickup in humbucker mode. And I don't know, man, it sounded like, again, if you closed your eyes, like maybe it could be a jazzier guitar than this, you know, but it actually pulled that sound off pretty well, I thought.
Well, you remember I sent you a clip, I think, of a guy from back in Connecticut that was like a fusion guy, but he did some straight ahead jazz stuff. But I mean, he had a pointy head. I want to say it was a Charvel, and I remember that in the '90s and going out to see them. 7th Avenue, I think, was the name of the band, and he used to play with a band called Street Temperature. But I was always like, look at this dude playing this like '80s metal guitar, but it worked. I mean, he was also a Frank Gambale guy, so he could do all that sweep picking stuff. But he made it work in every context,
and it sounded legit throughout the range. So these guitars can do that, I suppose. That was a little picking version, but I did a little fingerstyle thing too that is less convincing.
That was excellent.
That's like a little kid playing jazz. Is what it sounds like to me.
No, that's good.
But that felt a little like that was the neck position, but single coil.
Yeah.
And I threw some chorus on there. In my mind, I was thinking like kind of jazz chorus sound, but it doesn't sound like that to me.
Right.
It sounds kind of stale to me.
No,
I don't
cool,
like
though. It's all right.
That's the chorus in the software that the Scuffham Amps software. I didn't really dial it in much. Looking back, it's not my favorite of the test pieces, but again,
it's showing something,
not
a different
bad.
side of it.
Yeah, right. Not bad for jazzy kind of stuff. The next thing is, let's look at the little fusiony thing. Now this is, I think you've seen this one.
It's a nice shirt.
That's not really outside of the realm of what you'd expect of a guitar like this, but I thought it had some. It just, you can get around the neck really well, and a lot of that stuff requires that, obviously.
Yeah, and it sounds like a guitar on a Fusion record. I mean, it really that's that sound for sure.
Well, that was the humbucker in the back, again, the bridge humbucker, and a little bit of a different patch on the Scuffham. Not so Marshall-y. You know?
I was going to say a little more Dumbly or Fender sound.
Right,
yeah,
right.
That's what it feels like.
And that seemed to like it fit with that zone pretty well. Again, not a Fusion player, but it was kind of fun to kind of
pretty good.
Mess around with some chromatic licks and stuff, but funk. Now, again, I'm just kind of like trying to like bite off a little chunk of these different styles just to test them. And so for this one, I did 2 tracks. One, the original, the first thing you'll hear is middle position. So it's the 2. I have to look it up, which is which. But I did the rhythm kind of thing for that, and then I did a little strumming, picking thing with the opposite. And they definitely function differently, and it did not feel like a Strat to me.
Right.
So let's listen, and then we'll talk about it. Supposed to sort of emulate the 2nd and 4th position of a Strat, I guess.
It feels more like a telly kind of thing, or kind of a real hollow sound, like I don't know, people always use the term out of phase, and that's not exactly correct, but that actually sounds out of phase more than the quacky sound of a 2 and 4.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I in my mind, I was looking for that 2 and 4 quack, and I couldn't find it. So that might be a good example of something this doesn't quite get there.
Just simply because a lot of that is a function of pickup placement, and these there isn't one there.
Right, exactly. Some of it's technique on my part, but like my right hand, like all this stuff is kind of in the way, and so this, of course,
the bridge.
Yeah, stuff and we were talking about that before about just your hand
you're
placement.
Accustomed to that kind of flat Fender bridge.
Right. So that was a little weird, and then also on my other guitar, I have everything kind of pushed back. Whatever happens with my right hand, I used to like actually turn the volume down as I was playing because I was just whatever. And then even the pickup selector felt like it was kind of in the way. Like I wish it was all down a little further. Personal preference. I mean,
right.
All right, so that's funkiness.
But one other thought on that, kind of feels like that Paul Reed Smith kind of in between tone too.
Yes.
So that's probably similar to the way that it's wired, I would think.
I think that's a great comparison because we've talked about Paul Reed Smith in the past a lot. Mad respect, but like I never quite. It just never really work.
I actually played Jim's McCarty last weekend. It's really nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
Yeah, but that's more like
that's
Les Paul,
more.
right?
Yeah, it's a updated Les Paul that's fixes a lot of the inherent problems in a Les Paul.
Does it have weird, like the 5-way little thing?
It's got a 3-way switch and 2 volume and a tone. That's it.
Yeah. See, I think that's more the traditional thing, but I think that sound reminded me of the hey, here's a little
custom
rotary
24 or whatever.
It's just kind of weird,
which is what I'm used to, because like being in a band with Dave for so many years, and that's what he played all the time. You know.
Did he use those weird out of things?
On occasion, yeah, he'd go into the out of phase or whatever.
Did it work for that stuff?
Yeah, but it wasn't a Strat sound.
Yeah,
it wasn't it was its own thing.
Yeah.
Which and again, it's that hollow, funky. Yeah, to use the word funky on a funk song, but yeah, that's exactly what it feels like to me. Almost more akin to a telly, in the middle position than anything.
Yeah, so. Right. So yeah, maybe halvesies on the funk with
no, it's good. It's not a Strat, but it's something else. Yeah, which is still it's great for funk.
And I try to use, my approach to music in general is like, okay, what does the thing sound like? Okay, I'm gonna write something that works with that sound. Like that's kind of how I do. So with that in mind, then whatever is whatever,
right.
But if you're going for a specific Strat thing, and it's not going to give that to you.
Right.
So anyway, all right. So then the last thing is blues. Now this was surprising to me. I thought it turned out pretty good tone-wise. So check it out. Neck pickup, split, so it's a single coil, fairly Stratty. I thought.
Yeah, that's good.
And it seemed, again, like close your eyes, you could envision a Strat. At least I could.
Yep.
It didn't sound like a knockoff of a Strat sound. It felt Stratty. But anyway, so yeah, I thought the neck single coil on my other Strat I use all the time. So I like that sound a lot. And so it felt like it was in that zone to me. And those are the Seymour Duncan distortion, the Mayhem set. Brand, I know, Brand hipped me to that.
What does that even mean? Well, I mean, I know what Mayhem means, but what is that referring to? Is there?
I guess two distortions together is
just sonic mayhem.
It's mayhem, right?
Well, so I get it. Wow.
Yeah, so even with that, whatever the kind of high gain, he was measuring the output. And he was talking about how high output they are. But that was, again, that Strattiness through that patch in the S-Gear worked for that.
So that was like a completely different patch where the gain's dialed back. And
exactly. Yeah. Suffice it to say, I'm very stoked on this guitar.
Right. Well, really now you have two options for, like, I won't say completely different sounds, but different sounds, because the other one being a hardtail, and then this with the tremolo, and just different pickup configuration, more modern radius, more modern everything. So it felt very weird and odd to me when I first started playing it, and now it's like it just really kind of like, I don't want to play that.
Yeah, maybe who knows? But it's really interesting, man. I'm just thrilled with the guitar.
Yeah.
The more I play it, the more I put it through its paces. I think it's definitely one for the long haul. $1,000, man. That's a good guitar for that money in my mind.
In 2022, that's right.
2022.
Yep, not exactly. Like $1,000 in 1985 would have been a different story.
Whole different thing.
Buy one. Guitars are good. I like guitars. Charvel is good.
If you made it to the end, thank you for watching the whole thing. And
I love it.
It sounds so corny. Brant was ragging on me about it, but like, hit subscribe, like for real. Subscribe, like, all that stuff, because that really does put it back into the algorithm and get it, get people to watch. So
yeah, we've had the last couple of videos have done really well by our standards.
Yeah, absolutely.
So hopefully we're bringing something to the table that's entertaining and informative, and comment.
Do that. Comment. What? Comment. That's crazy.
Hit us up with some negative comments.
Yeah. Talk about this hat. Talk about how weird this hat is.
Why is it weird?
I don't know. It's kind of.
What is it? A skateboard?
It's a skateboard.
Okay.
It's a little baby skateboard. So.
Or a plate with wheels, or a pie. It looks like a pie with wheels. It could be. Are you into pies?
I'm into pies.
Good.
Bye.